Hey everybody. Okay, so what I'm going to try and do tonight is a bit of an experiment. Hopefully you'll bear with me. What I want to do is kind of join up two separate projects. So I stumbled upon an amazingly insightful generative art site today called Generative Artistry, and they've got a bunch of tutorials, including one here on circle packing, which isn't number one, which means it's not the easiest, potentially. But they do this really cool thing where you've got a bunch of code, and as you scroll down the page, the code changes, and the output starts to become displayed. Now that's great, except for the fact that this it's in JavaScript. So, and I really want to program it in Rust. Not because like I kind of want to start like a religious war or anything, but mostly because I'm really curious to play around or experiment with this new thing called Nannou, and it's really fun. Or at least I think it has the potential to be amazingly cool. Now, there is a slight problem, and that I'm still learning Nannou, so this isn't going to be a flawless tutorial by any means. What I'm going to be trying to do is take the code that I've got on the right and implement it in this framework which I have on the left by kind of cribbing off a few things. I've got a fair idea. I've written a few sketches before. And in particular, well, that's a lot of compiled output. I have this thing called lava lamp, and if I hopefully it works. Goodness me, what? Oh, you know what it's trying to do? I've actually I tried to be clever before I started this, like before I started the stream. I thought that I would just kind of give myself a head start and basically cheat and do it to start with. But now, and then I was like, oh, I will. But actually, that's cheating. So what I'm using is a piece of functionality within the cargo tool, which is Rust package management. I'm using workspaces. So let's start throwing some links in the chat. Okay, so the first link that we want is the circle packing. So that's there. It's generativeartistry.com/tutorials/circle-packing. The second link I'm going to give you is the link to the framework itself. And the framework is here in it's Nannou, Nannau.cc. And just to kind of explain the situation about what I'm doing with cargo, inside, this was a technique recommended to me with the Nannou Slack to enable the compilation to be way faster. I've actually reduced the number of CPUs that Cargo, the Rust compiler, is allowed to use, so that it basically continues, so that the stream can carry on while I'm going. hopefully, when this gets to 260, we're at 244. When we get to 260, you'll see one of the demos on the screen. And then I'm going to replicate what I've done there and try to create a... What am I doing? I'm trying to basically kind of create this tutorial, the circle packing thing in Nannou, in Rust, on my own computer, live. Like, no pressure at all. If you have any questions about what I'm doing or anything else... Oh, okay, so, right. It's called Lava Lamp because that was the original idea. Original idea. It turns out that all we've got is hexagons that actually change their position very, very slowly. This is my wonderful demo. Not amazing. So potentially, I've got some work to do. Now, let's just demonstrate. So actually, I don't even care about these hexagons, really, except for the fact that to demonstrate that I have coded in this framework before. That would be almost the only reason to have this code up. Let's create a new directory. And I'm going to call that circ, and I want to do it in the root. And I'm going to call it circle packing. And inside it, I'm going to create main.rs. And from here, I'm actually going to go back to Nannou and pull out their very basic tutorial, like their starter thing. So this is this is exactly how we start a Nannou project. We import from the prelude. We bring in a whole bunch of stuff into local scope. I create the sketch thing using a view function, which is this, and then I call run. This won't do a lot except for creating a blue background. Let's put that in, let's kind of demonstrate that. First, the other thing that I need to do is add circle packing into the workspace. I'm not sure why it's all angry at me. It shouldn't be. I feel like it's too angry. I think I can do this. Get just circle packing. Why not? No. Right. So I need cargo.toml in there as well. That's not quite right. Rename. And main needs to be in FSC. That one can go up in there. I do wish to move it inside cargo, which is currently nothing. I'm going to call it circle packing, and I guess I'll use my personal email address then rather than work. Okay, so now it should actually be able to compile. Or so what we're expecting now is a thing to pop up and we get a blue screen. We've got our blue screen, so hurrah! Right, now we can start. First things first. Well, second thing is first, maybe. Let's start porting this code. Okay, so we don't need canvas, we don't need 2D, we don't need line width. So, but how about we define a constant just for now, so that it's I'll probably use usize. So usize, by the way, if you've never used Rust, is it's going to sound super technical, but it doesn't mean to be. It's the the size of a pointer, or the size of a. So in a 64-bit CPU, it's a 64-bit integer. The U prefixed on here means it's unsigned, so it can only count from 0 upwards. It has a kind of a sister type called isize, which is a signed variant. Now, the reason why we use size is that if I'm compiling into a 32-bit machine, suddenly this will be a 32-bit integer, and if I'm on a 64-bit machine, it will be 64. The reason why this matters is that it becomes CPUs really like using their native size. It just kind of gets that little extra inch of performance. Now, in JavaScript, you've got a whole bunch of really... So I think maybe the first thing that we will do is we need a way to create an array of circles. Now, a draw thing, like this app.draw, which is what is it? I'm surprised that the code syntax highlighting isn't working for me yet. I guess the compiler will kind of catch up. And I think the color they want is white, just for now. And maybe I will have line. Is there a... Okay, so I'm just going to have a white ellipse and XY, I think. I'm going to put it in 0, 0, which will probably, which is in the middle of the page. Which is what it defaults to. Actually, just for fun, let's put it out of the middle of the page, because like right in the middle isn't super useful. Okay, so immediately we hit our first problem, which is that we trigger a compile error. Nannou really likes floating point numbers, and just for fun, we will. So this actually now becomes F32, and that becomes 2.0, because we know eventually we're going to it's going to want a float saying, hey look, you're actually not using this, so we just comment it out for now and we'll bring it back. Okay, hooray! We've got our white circle with blue background, so 10 points to us. That's not really useful. Sadly, if we look at the effect that we're after, like go down here, like we're looking for this kind of gorgeous little thing. This is what we want to do, and have millions and millions of these. We one white circle isn't really going to cut it. So let's try again. Well, let's try going on to the next step. So I think I've got some really useful constants, and one, let's say that we'll just pull them in. So what we're trying to do is port from this JavaScript into Rust. Now, min radius 2.0, and let's say max is 200, although I think the original one is 500. Number of circles, let's define as 500 as well. We'll use a float for that. Don't know what type we'll need, but usize will probably come in handy again. And it's also got this thing called create. Create circle attempt. So we'll create that too, just while we're porting it across. If we want to clean it up, then we may as well. So there's two functions that our demo code creates. It initializes a circle vector, which we don't need to do because of. So I'm jumping around between two tutorials, which is awesome. I think that I can draw, and I want points colored, or do I? I want to copy this little thing and bring it across. And this is actually some relatively advanced Rust code. So bear with me just for a second while I kind of try and do my thing. So the first thing that we can do, and well, one of the things that Rust offers is the ability to create iterators over integers or ranges. Now we created a constant which was max n circles. So this functionality here, 0 dot dot n, we'll just break out the token so that it's a little easier to read, especially if you haven't seen Rust before. And I will take away the white space. So what the heck is going on here? 0 is a constant, obviously, and so they're both constants. So we start at 0 and we iterate all the way through. Every iteration will increment itself up until we hit n circles. So this will go 500 times. This double dot dot equals is the syntax for an inclusive range. Okay, what next? Okay, I want to map, hide this guy, and then I'm going to create an anonymous function, otherwise known as a closure, with these double bars. That takes an ampersand, semicolon. And now I've got the ability to what have I got the ability to do? Well, let me show you. I can say let x equals app window, and that failed me. Let me just get the pull out the rectangle. I want to create a random point somewhere within inside the x coordinate and somewhere within the y coordinate as well. If I call, why is that not happy? Oh, it's a spelling error. So I'm just gonna. Ugh. Where is the API? I need to find... Ah, okay. It is exactly what I thought. Well, I say that. I wasn't exactly sure. Left. So we've got window left and window right. We want to create a point that's somewhere between these two. Let's just say that we can do such a thing. And our Y, we want somewhere between the top and the bottom. Now, how do we create a point between those two? I think let's see if Nannou has created a range. Yeah, cool. This is what I like with using a framework that is designed for creative coders. Like, there is just a whole bunch of, up here in our prelude, we've actually imported a whole bunch of really handy functionality that I wouldn't really want to just code on the fly myself. Now I'll just pull that one out again. Let's do a replace. So now we have an XY that is somewhere onside the page. I'm using a point2 function, which and inside a tuple of at the stage 1 element, and I'm just going to use the color white because we have a blue background. So now we've transformed our iterator of i's, so integers, into sort of an array, an iterator of these white things. And then we want to iterate again and create another point. We want to draw it. So how about we just do for point and points, draw it in over there. Actually, there's got to be a better way to do this that's slightly more ergonomic, but I'm just going to play with this right now. And see if that runs. I've just noticed that the frames have totally blown up on me, so let's see where we go. Where we get to. So I just change that to 50. Okay, so we're getting closer, but this is not really what we want. So we are getting closer. So if you're still on the stream after it just cut out, this is what we got. We've got a lot of dots, which kind of sucks because, well, actually we'll stop that right there. What we need to now do, I think, is change it from refleshing. There is a way to prevent Nannou from just redoing it every single time. And I need to find that. Okay, so let's try. So this is great for animations, but I'm just going to try the sketch function because it kind of creates what we want. Size of the window and run. Event loop. Okay, so we've got this. That's right. Okay, so I'm going to try and see if I can. What we want is to specify that the loop mode is not quite what we want. We're currently using, I think, rate, but what we want is in times. Now, how do you use it? Now, I bet that if so, this is super close, but I've got this thing here, but how do I insert it into the app? Set loop mode. That looks very promising. I wonder if I can. Oh, that's a read-only. I might need to create the sketch manually rather than via sketch. So at the moment I'm using the sketch helper method, which is great for tiny things, what I'm doing right now. What I want to do is create that myself via the app function, which returns this builder thing. Which I can actually use exactly the same, except that can't figure out quite how to... Oh, losing viewers, that's awesome. Damn it. Oh well. Happens. Okay, how do I... what I really want is search for loop mode. Ah, loop mode. Huh. It's not quite what I wanted, but we'll use it. So I've got a view method or a view function, and now I'm going to create a update. Sorry, a view one. Okay, so now our model. Okay, so model creates the application. Model is stateless, and the loop mode is is it? Okay, if you just joined us, what we're trying to... no, I'll keep myself on track a bit. View is there, so loop mode window. Looks like I don't need to do that. Still call update, okay. Okay, I'm going to try and run that. Actually, I don't care about that. Returns the model, which is just there. A bit garbage at the moment. If you're just kind of joining in, I will explain what I'm doing very, very soon. Let's just try again. Okay, incorrect number of function parameters. Okay, awesome. Of course. Yeah, right. So, why does it work over there? Because it's slightly more complex. Funnily enough, if you are just joining, what I'm doing is kind of combining like 6 or 7 different tutorials and trying to get them all working. Well, I say 6 or 7, I actually mean 2, but... So the tutorial that I'm working through, right? Ah, perfect. Okay, cool. Awesome. This is really, really great. I know that doesn't look super impressive. We'll just change the number of circles and ignore that for now. Ignore this for now. If what we're doing is we're recreating a particular demo from the site generativeartistry.com. And what I've been able to do so far is to create circles yay, randomly on the map. on this on our space. Now they're all the same size and they do overlap currently. We shall proceed. Like we'll get there. We'll get there. The way that we've done it so far is used our use some Rust idiom to create a series of points. Now we could actually do this differently so that it's actually idiomatic. Well, so that it's non-idiomatic Rust. But it might be simpler if you're looking at the code if you haven't used Rust before. Yeah, I think I'll refactor this. Okay, so just give me a second. Okay, so for I, and in fact, we don't even really care about I. We've got a compiler warning below us saying that we don't need it. And I think the compiler is probably right here. We kind of don't need it. And so we got X and Y. And the color that we want is, we don't even need to construct a little point thing. This random range creates a now this should present us with a very similar picture than we've already seen. Great. We can create more circles. And the code is actually kind of simpler. If you're a Nannou programmer, for whatever reason, it's less idiomatic. And I know why, because some of the more advanced functionality uses different stuff. And so what I want to learn now is how to change the line width. In 2D shapes, we've got a fill. Oh, let's change the size, shall we? So, random range between, we've got two constants, min radius and max radius. And I think this one's going to be too big, so I'm just going to change it for 150, let's say. 120 because I made a typo. And let's set radius to min radius, max radius. I'm using really ugly formatting, I suppose, because I want it to be easier to refactor. Let's try that. So what we should see is that our bubbles are different sizes. And that's what we get. So that's cool. Yay! I would actually like to alter the distribution slightly so that you have fewer bigger ones, but I'm gonna allow it for now because I know that is what will happen once we start implementing the functionality within this algorithm. What we're going to implement very shortly is collision detection, so that if we try and place a circle that exists inside the bounds of another circle, we're going to we're just not going to place it. We do have a slight problem in that we're not actually storing the state of the current circles. We're only drawing them. So we may need to think about that. We will need to think about that. And I could do it with I don't know how to do that with inside Nannou. So what I'm probably going to do is what I am probably going to do, he says, is sorry, I'm just having two thoughts at once. What I'm probably going to do is create a struct which can represent an ellipse, or a circle in our case. I'm a little bit surprised that I need to draw. I'm a little bit concerned thinking about this now, because I really don't want to have to draw all of these points myself. Maybe I just have to. So instead of drawing an ellipse, I'm going to draw a... I'm going to draw a line, and radius is here. And this one is actually, I'm going to do something probably a bit odd, and so this one is actually, I want to change this to like line. I didn't. Because I've already got a points variable. The points are the blobs that I'm creating. What I think might be fun, he says, is to draw the ellipse and then, oh look, here's my points actually. So they already have a color, and I'm going to draw the color of that white for fun. And this weight becomes line width. There's no real reason why there's a constant there. We'll see where this goes. I'm kind of curious. We almost got it. So what we've got, right, yeah, which is kind of an interesting effect anyway, is a set of random, for every blob, we've created a circle that doesn't even appear to correlate. It doesn't, its X and Y is like not related to, so I've got to move the center, and let's just try it. Let's see where we get to. X plus y plus. Now, someone's going to slap me on the wrist and say that I really should have learnt my... Well, this is fun. Like, that's interesting. Different than what I expected. Much, much different. But again, like, it is fun. The problem we've got is that radius here. So this is going around the outside of the circle that we want. But this radius isn't that. So I'm going to cheat and say black, and I add. I'll figure the maths out later. Cancel that. Okay, so now we have something that looks much, much more similar to what we've got over there. Now, the big difference is that max radius and min radius are a lot different. They're all the same. Oh, we crashed. Now, I guess we encountered a singularity or something inside our min-max calculation. Okay. We're definitely not as dense as the original one, but that's because our surface area is bigger. But that's cute. We've got bubbles. Let's have lots of bubbles while I take my next step. Oh, it's thinking really hard, and it's created some bubbles, which is fun. I love a bubble. And now we've got a problem, maybe? We need to implement just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of trigonometry, and that is whether or not we need to be able to calculate collisions, and there's probably a way inside Nannou to do so. Okay, so the thing that we need to do is... Oh, we've had a few other people join the show, so I'm just going to pull up, get what we've got up on screen, so you can see kind of where we're going. What we're trying to do is recreate a tutorial. And I'm up to the stage where I've been able to create a whole bunch of circles. You know, super advanced stuff. And now what we're going to be able to do is create some collisions inside our little world. And after that, we will clean up our code, our output, and start to create some really interesting pictures. And after that, we'll almost be done. So all we need to do now, he says, is that all I need to do is implement collision detection. Now, we can use Pythagoras' theorem to do so. So is self.radius. I'm just going to use the conventions that are used over here really simply, and the radius. It's not an equals, it's plus. The x, layer y is self y minus other y. So we're trying to find the difference, and if a is greater or equal to the square root of x times x plus y times y, and we need those two plus together, which turns another float. And I'm pretty sure there's a square root method on floats. So we've detected a collision, and actually I'm just going to use nice Rust-isms, and because Rust is an expression-based language, we don't need a return keyword. Instead, what we'll do is use the result of the last expression as the return value of the function itself. We could unit test this. We won't. Right, so now we need to I see what it's doing. It's being sneaky. So it's created a collection of, it's got and I am just going to borrow there, I think. I'll see where I get to. I think I only need to borrow it. If self collides with other, here we need to use the return keyword because we want to abort quickly. At the end though, we don't. So if we get all the way through, we haven't detected any collisions, we don't have any collisions. Now, we do have a slight problem in that we need to create our circles. Now we know how many we need, so let's create them. And I've got a point that's just for display. I'm going to what am I going to do? See circles. Ooh. Ooh, tough. Okay, so what I need to do first is check that before I start drawing things to the screen, I need to check that it's in, we're not in range of any others. So I've got this other constant as well, which is create circle attempts. Now, so we need an inner loop. Now I'm confused or concerned that we're not going to be able to get at something. We need to create a circle. Crap. So this needs to be created in outer scope. Oh. But then we need to create one. Oh, we'll just try the collision detection stuff now, and then I'll think about scoping rules and so forth to be able to get it in place. Because I'm kind of confusing myself, I think, needlessly. X is X, Y is Y, and R radius. Is radius. Now I've got this C thing. Now if I've got to go through a loop, and we were trying to find a space for our circle. If we collide with any of these circles that are already in our space, then we don't want to keep a hold of it. So let's figure that out. So we've got C circle. Do I? Okay, let's carry on. C collides any collision with circles. So these are all the other circles that I've already got. So if there are any collisions, then continue. Otherwise, add the circle to the list, well, to the vector. The problem is that this X and Y need to be here, and I've just had a thought, do they? Because I could, and this is what I meant by maybe I'm overthinking it, is why don't I create circle with kind of a blank, actually, right, so we break there and we stop. Now the printing of our circles is kind of semi-independent from creating them, which is better software anyway. So let's pull the creation of our circles out of drawing. Now we can loop over the circles that we've got, and for C in circles, so C suddenly becomes radian. I don't care about CX, CY. So now I've got a point, or a bunch of points, with colors. And I bet this is not going to work. Thanks. So it turns out this one's easy to fix. We'll just go through all of these errors. Right, so what have I got? Okay, we need to fix some compilers. Let's do that. Let's go to this one. This one's easy to fix too. Don't care about that. The reason I don't need it is because I've already taken. I've already got a borrow. I want to struct. I've kind of a circle, so that's easy. Oh, maybe I could take that as a reference to circle because I don't actually. Oh, actually, it's fine. Oh, no, it's not. I need to take a reference to circle, not circle itself, because Rust has this distinction between a borrow and a like transferring ownership. And so I'm actually asking to borrow circle during the collides, and I want to give it back to the calling scope. And likewise with any collision, I'm actually borrowing this vector of circle, and I promise at the end of my function, because I'm any collision, that I will kind of return back my vector of my vector of circles back to whatever calling scope it was. So that's hopefully another. This one I can fix pretty easily too. So I just converted a local variable, and I am instead going to use I'm going to pull it out of the circle struct that I have defined. I'm super hopeful that this will work. Like, do you ever have code where you're just like, oh, I'm so not sure. Like, kind of doing it on the fly. Well, not so much on the fly, but in fact, yeah, it is totally on the fly. I hadn't used Nannou to any great extent, but I can really get I feel like I'm super close now to implementing this circle packing algorithm, and I'm pretty excited by it. I know it's lame, it's just circles, but hey, it's fun. Okay, a couple of compilers to go. We'll get there, I promise. We will. We're so close now. We're so close. Oh, okay, this is actually a fair comment. I am trying to append or push to a vector which is declared as immutable, which doesn't really work for Rust. Like, Rust is really adamant, really prefers safety by default. So we need to declare this thing as mutable, which means if you have English as a second language or so forth, it just means that we're able to change it after creating it. Come on. Come on! No, I really want it to work. I really. Oh, we can't really see it. I can't see any collisions, but that's because we haven't really created. I'm going to bump up our max radius to 105, 185. Let's go crazy. I'm so lame. I know this is super lame. That's awesome. How awesome is that? So, yeah, if you're following at home, you wouldn't have kind of appreciated that I discovered this tutorial literally, like, I don't know, a couple hours ago, and I just re-implemented it in a framework that I've barely used. So I'm pretty pumped. I've just reposted the link to the tutorial itself. Let's do some fun things just while we're there. There's actually one tiny little piece that I should improve. Let me do so. I wonder. Okay, this is going to sound stupid, but to simplify that, and it's like it's actually quite silly, but as there's less and less space inside the graph, or inside the, if we divide radius, like the maximum radius that it could have, by greater amount through every single time, it will increase our likelihood of actually finding a slot for the next one. So that's, that's like a tiny efficiency win. It wasn't actually what I was expecting to do. I'm a little bit disappointed at how blocky some of our output is. Oh, I'm so pumped though that it. Oh, I just went. Must be finite. That's odd. Okay, I know what I need to do. Now I've been able to. Okay, but if I divide 1500 by 10, by 100, it. Okay, so I'm just gonna stop that now. Wasn't useful at all. I think maybe it could have been. There are other ways to search in the space. We could always just like move across to find a spot. But instead, that's kind of fun. So at least that doesn't blow up. If we change this to much larger, 385, we might get a result that is a little bit closer to some of this demo code. But what they have done is also added this extra constraint, which is that the edge of the circles can't match each other, which we don't currently have. If your circle overlaps with another one, like on the boundary, we consider that as like in the field of not a collision. What we could do is always make them separate. It's arguable whether or not you want to do that. I mean, you could also do it in a slightly different way, whereby maybe you could allow some to overlap. That'd be fun. But let's just implement that last little bit. I'm so pumped. That's so cool. Let's also use some different colors. So how do we use different colors in Nannou? Well, what we can do is we can just search for white, and what you can get is a bunch of other constants that are defined with inside the so I don't know, light charcoal. That sounds like a nice color. Sounds like a nice color for a background rather than the outline of a thing. So what a transparent. Ooh. What's a good color? White is kind of floral white. Navajo. Yeah, let's change the background to white smoke because that sounds fun. Being silly. I should really just implement this last collision thing and call it done. Oh man, I'm so excited. Honestly, when I came in, oh goodness me. You're embarrassing me now. So if you haven't used Rust before to white smoke, and we also wanted floral white. Oh no, we didn't. We had that charcoal thing. Oh, what's antique white? Don't know. We'll use white smoke. Looks fine. I was thinking that this little box here is the color, but actually it's not. It's what is it intended to be? I'm not sure. Oh, light charcoal isn't in scope. It's definitely a fun sounding color. Oh. UI. Prelude color. There it is. Oh, different. It's inside this UI namespace, not inside. What about Blanche? I don't know what a blanched almond would look like, but let's... blanched almond sounds really silly. Plum. Powder blue? Rebecca purple. Powder blue. Let's do powder blue, and then we'll move on to this. We will finally move on to. We've got white smoke. Here's our implementing this last tiny little bit of collision detection. Yeah, but it looks really nice. It's just the wrong color. So, in fact, I'm sorry for mucking people around. I'm just having heaps of fun. I'm just having lots of fun. If we change those around, they will look a lot better. Well, the whole screen will look a lot better. And the compiler was also complaining that our attempts variable is not used, so I'll do what it says and prefix it with an underscore. Oh man. Okay, so let's implement this last little bit of collision detection. Okay, that looks way better. So I've got a collides method. Now, I'm just kind of reading through the code to check if circle Y. Do I care? Actually, a little bit, not too much. I'm gonna try and bump up the number of circles. and see what happens. So you'll notice that it takes a long time to present the first view. And the reason why that is because we're being ridiculously inefficient. Like right now, it's trying to find spots for all of our little circles, and it's not able to do so. Because we've got these big bubbles that are dominating the space, and so it needs to find slots left for them. Now, would it be useful if I put the code up for this anywhere? If you would like it, let's do that. I'll clean it up. Yeah, I'll create a gist, I think. Have you, like, let me know if you, so I'm just in GitHub, and here's my gists. What else have I got? My diag. Oh, that's a long time ago. 5 years ago. I want to create a new one. How do I do so? I hate doing stuff like this when you like are in front of an audience, like which is stupid because like that's the whole point of streaming, right? Like it's your butt. So implementing circle packing in Rust. Now I'm going to call this main.rs because it will make more sense, and so we've actually pulled from a bunch of different sources. Maybe I'll leave the comments in. The comments come from the Nannou tutorial. I'll add the sources. Lots of love. I'll add that later. Just at the end. Tim. Actually, maybe I won't. See these two great guides. Just in case you're brand new, and we have had a bunch of people that are pretty new to the stream, I will get my bubbles back. I'll just kind of go through what we've been doing. We're implementing the circle packing algorithm. That is really neat. It's inside the browser. If you've got your chat window open, I posted a few links in there. But I'm re-implementing it instead of this JavaScript. Instead of in processing, I'm re-implementing it inside. In fact, I think this might just be native JavaScript, which is quite cool, rather than actual framework. In fact, yeah, I'm almost certain that it is. That's really neat that they've been able to do that. So anyway, I am implementing it again from scratch. That is not relevant. And if you read the recording of this stream, you'll discover that I spent a bunch of time kind of sweating, figuring it all out. Maybe I should. I'll just get this up. And if you have any questions, you are. What happens if I do like that? We'll find out. The other thing that I need is the actual editor. Oh, for Mitch's, I copied the guy that runs the Nannou. And that's not right anymore. It's Let's give my personal email address instead of my work email address. Paperless at what.mcnamara.co.nz. And actually, that's not very good, really super relevant either. That's not the right. I want this one. Now, do I bother with the README? Probably not. Yeah, I might do that later, but I will just do this now. So, can't include subdirectories or slashes. Can't be subdirectories or include slashes in the name. Okay, so you'll have to figure out how to do that. Cool. Okay, what have we got? We have got some source code for anyone that wants it. Ta-da! I will wrap up the stream, and go to bed. It's just about 10 p.m. How about we just go for one more set of circles, because how cool are the circles? Look at them. They're so fun. Maybe a few more. Now it's blowing up on me, but come on. Yes, there you go. There they are. Hey! Oh, that makes me so happy. I don't know why. I'm an idiot. I'm sorry, but it's great. I'm delighted that the tutorial is as accessible as what it was. Thanks to the generative artistry team. I think their names are also there's a Ruth and a Tim, and that's great. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go. So, for me it's 11:50. Yeah. Hi from New Zealand. Yeah, if you feel like kind of connecting or anything, my Twitter account is always available. So there I am. It's the same alias. It's TimClicks. It's pretty easy to find. I think in the So. And again, for anyone that wants it, I'm just going to pump out those. It's in the gist, I think. So here is the link to the upstream tutorial, and here is the Rust framework. Nannou that we've been using in the stream. Okay, and with that, I think I will wrap up. I'll be hanging around in the chat, I suppose, for a few minutes. But with that, I'll sort of call it. Okay, thanks everyone.